Hi everybody, welcome to January's giveaway. I'm just going to give it a minute or two just to make sure that we're going. So it looks like it's working my end. So I'll just give it a minute or so. It does take a few seconds for us to get live as such. So hope you're all enjoying this weather. Roll on. Where is it? Let's find it. Roll on. Yeah, we're going to go for that one. So roll on April is what I want to say. It's not nice this weather. Too cold. So if anyone can comment to say that they can see and hear me, that would be absolutely perfect. So I have got the chat thing on. So just give it a minute. It feels ever so weird being just sat waiting. But yeah, hope you all had a nice weekend. I want to quickly, look at that. I love it. This one's from my good mate, Nick. I'm back. Can you teach me how to fish, please? You need to get out fishing, Nick. I think the last time, was it last year? Was it the year before? And I went and stocked up with Nick and we went to, trying to think of the name of it now. What's the name of the place? But it was solid. A really, really nice venue. Nick can comment, say that, where was it now? I know Ash Davis goes there, but the name of it escapes me, like full of these little carp. Really, really good venue. And you see it like when you're scrolling through Facebook, see the results, struggle, and you see there it's absolutely solid. So yeah, it's good to see you back fishing, Nick. You can let me know where you took me. So it was mega. So this one's from Wayne. Yes, I'm guessing, but I say, hope you're keeping well. That was it. Carney Pools. Cheers, Nick. You're a star. So yeah, really, really nice venue. All like little carp, absolutely immaculate. Well, I'm sure some of them are a bit bigger now. Looking at Ash Davis catch shots, looks mega there, and definitely a place that I need to go back to. So yes, and with the fishing that close to you, and you're telling me you're not going, but you love your football and your cars and everything, so I don't blame you. The thing is, I'll be honest, for me at the moment, I was messaging Jonathan earlier. No, was it? Yeah, it was Jonathan. And on one of these comments on one of his posts on Facebook, and this is the truth of it now. So in the past, I remember going to Gold when it was frozen solid. Like basically there was 4 idiots, I want to say, William being one of them, me being another, Mark Eves and Mark Goddard. And we go there and just basically fish with bloodworm when no one else would even go out the house. And now, since we've moved, so I want to say it's definitely been a few months now. But if you'd have said to me that since in the time that I've moved, I wouldn't have been to Red Hill fishing a match or Monk Hall fishing a match, I'd have said you're absolutely mad. But I can tell I'm getting old now because Joe will say to me, oh, I've got like the teams of 4 on the Saturdays that I'm doing at the moment. But on the Sunday, this is genuinely how I decide whether I'm going to fish or not. And as you can tell, I haven't been going there on a Sunday. And basically, the Met Office weather decides whether I'm fishing or not on Sunday. And at the moment, I look at it and I'm full of good intentions and I want to go there. And I look and it's either chucking down with rain, ice, snow, and I'm just like, I'll just have another day doing prep. So that's what it's like this time of the year. But this next one's from Lee, loud and clear, mate, and say, hope you're keeping well, Lee, as well. So we'll go through our winners as such, and then any other comments, then I can answer them afterwards. So for our January winners, I'm going to say my bit that I always say. I never like to mention it, but I've always want to say it because I never want one of our boys or girls to ever get scammed. They're out there and they're trying everything. So if you think you've won and you think, oh, Paul's called my name out, if you subscribe via the website, then you will get an email from us. But if you hear your name and you think, oh, that could have been me, and you subscribe via YouTube, you need to email us. And the email will be support@matchfocus.co.uk. So I'm going to say this because I am the world's worst with technology, and after the weekend it definitely just summed it up again. Trying to get my camera to work on Saturday, wouldn't have it, and then trying to do my conclusion on Sunday, Nick would be one of them laughing his head off. It took me 2 hours. Maybe that's being generous on my behalf. It might have taken me a little bit longer than 2 hours just to get my little camera to link up to my phone. So that's why I'm going to say it again for people out there that are like me. So if you hear your name and you think, oh, that was me, and you subscribe via the website, you will get an email from us, and it'll be from support@matchfocus.co.uk. We're never going to ask you for any money. Everything is 100% free. But if you hear your name, you think, oh, that was me, and you subscribe via YouTube, you need to email us at that same email address. So support@matchfocus.co.uk. Because I know there is definitely, well, I'm hoping there's going to be 1 or 2 people out there that are just like me and a bit bobo when it comes to technology. But each of our 10 winners this month, again, I'm keeping it for sort of the time of the year. What I need to be giving away is like 3 or 4 slices of orange Warburtons, don't I, for everyone, because that's what it seems to be at the moment, with nothing really wanting to feed. But fingers crossed, it won't be too long now. I did notice on Saturday, or it felt like I noticed it, maybe because the weather was better, but like it just felt like it was getting lighter earlier. And then when I left, I'm always the last person to leave, in case you don't know, it definitely felt lighter later as well. And it just, good times are coming, good fishing times are coming, and we can start feeding summer. So each of our 10 winners, get on with the giveaway pool. Will win 1 kilo of fine expander. Lovely at this time of the year, especially if you go into a coloured, a bit of a coloured venue, then fine expanders, brilliant for skimmers, F1s and carp. But personally, it's the next mix that I absolutely love. But, if you win it, this is a great ground bait for your slop and paste shallow, which we are definitely going to be doing a video on that this year. I've even dug it. Shall I show you me? I've got to show you my floats. Everything's sort of neat and tidy with me. These are my hooks that we're going to be using. So again, that's what I mean. Although I haven't been fishing, I have been doing a lot of preparing ready for the warmer months. So you'll be able to see there, those are our paste shallow hook lengths. So you'll be able to see that little, they're a core and paste cage. And basically I just cut it in half. And one of our lads kindly has found me a few of them. But I can even show you, actually, I can show you the packet. His name is Ryan Forrest, so don't be badgering him, because Ryan's been sorting me right out, like finding them. But that's where they are, that's what they look like. I can show you about the light, like a small paste cage, but they're absolutely mint when you're fishing slop and paste shallow. And I was going to show you my float. But yeah, so if anyone finds any of them in the tackle shops and you don't want them, I would very, very much love them. So where is it? Is that it? It's all a bit of a mess in there. So yeah, paste shallow float. So yeah, looking forward to getting those back out. And say that fine expander is absolutely mint for that, for your slop and paste shallow. So 1 kilo of that. And then this is the mix that I absolutely love this time of the year. Skimmer's Dark. I don't know what we call, well, I do know what we called it, Skimmer's Dark, because that's what Andy designed it for. But I absolutely love it. F1, skimmers, carp. If I'm going fishing this time of the year and I want to feed some ground bait, that is the one that I use. Just nice and simple to have 1 bag of ground bait that, basically everything eats it. Mixes up like a really, really, it's not jet black, but it's like a nice dark, sort of darky green colour, and just everything loves eating it. So 2 kilos of that, because that's the mix that I absolutely love. And then for the warmer months, save it up. So pole mix, again, ever faithful mix, everything loves eating it. Really, really nice for when it does warm up a little bit, and then fish, more F1s and such coming into that shallow water. You can use it for carp, but this is the mix that I prefer for carp. So coarse carp, absolutely love this mix. Say fishing in the edge, fishing a method feeder, just such a mint mix, that one. So those, each of our 10 winners will win kilo of fine expander, 2 kilos of skimmers dark, a kilo of pole mix, a kilo of pole mix, and a kilo of coarse carb. So I'm going to read out our winners, and hopefully I pronounce everyone's surname correctly. So our first winner is Adam Daniels. Massive well done, Adam. Our second winner is Paul Walsh. So Walch. So massive well done, Paul. Our third winner is Michael Triggs. Congratulations, Michael. Our fourth winner is Liam Crosswell, 16. So well done, Liam. Our fifth winner is Ryan Watson, 6135. So well done, Ryan. Our sixth winner is Benny Boy, 1987. So massive well done to Benny Boy. Our seventh winner is Craig Gorton. Congratulations, Craig. Our eighth winner is Phil Docklow. Congratulations, Phil. Our ninth winner, I don't think is Andy, but it is Bagger 7561. So massive well done to Bagger. And our 10th winner is Paul Taybro, I think, or Taybro 07. So I think I've said that right. So it's Paul Taybro 07. So those are our 10 winners, our 10 January winners. Quickly, before I put this down, because otherwise I forget, and yeah, otherwise I'm going to forget. But our live is tomorrow with Andy at 6:30 p.m. and we're going to be talking through sort of our plans for the year. But if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask, get them sent over to me. You send them over on Facebook Messenger if you want. So Paul Holland Angling or Match Focus, totally up to you. But if you're very, very tech savvy, then you can just ask them live. But yeah, I thought I'd mention that. But yeah, that's going to be tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. So where did I get to? So here we are. So this one is from Steve. Any plans to go to Barbie Banks again? Yes, Min, I absolutely love it there. So we just released our live match and that blew me mind, to be honest. So I don't know if you've watched it, but basically I've got a lovely reed line bank and then I've got some reeds that really stick out and it's just lovely the way that it plums up. I want to say it was like 32 inch, which is sort of basically the perfect depth, I think, when you're fishing a carp. And it's just like you've got these reeds there and it just drops straight off. So you've got the nice, nice depth of water right next to it. And then it comes out for such a long way and then just gradually goes down into the deep water. But you've got quite a big shelf, I want to say, across. So when I was plumbing up before the start, and again, it was like the week before Christmas, so it's freezing, I thought I'm just going to have like dob in heaven today. And sort of flicking my bread rig along and never had a single bite. I was like, I don't believe that. And then I fished with micros and expanders. I foul hooked the first two, which is common, I think, when you first start feeding a peg. But then I caught, I want to say it was 3 or 4 dead clean. So going out, just feeding my micros, dropping my rig in, and it was like, oh, this is mint. But what was really interesting, so I spent, I want to say 20, 25 minutes dobbing bread, never had a single sign on my flow. And then I reckon it probably took no longer than 3 minutes of feeding where I've been dobbing and feeding, and it probably wasn't even 3 minutes, it might have been a minute and a half, 2 minutes feeding, and I've had my bite, my first bite, obviously a foul hooked it. But what amazed me was I couldn't believe that I never had a single bite on bread and how quickly one responded to the bait. So they must have been over there, there must have been some fish loitering around. But the bit that blew my mind was started catching these little skimmers. And we've been there twice before. So our first one, I want to say we drew peg, I'm sure it is 35, and we had a mint day. Like, it was unbelievable, fishing in the mud. And I can't remember what weight we had, but it was just exceptional, unbelievable day. And then we went back and we drew, it's awkward, like the way the pegs go, but where we drew on our last match, we drew like 4 pegs to the left of it. And again, had a lovely day fishing hard pellet shore. But when we was going there, because we went to Holly Farm, and I messed up, cocked it right up, to be honest. Wanted to fish how I wanted to fish, ground bait, live maggots, had a go with worms. And Baz said to me that he filmed on that lake with Rob Wootton, and hard pellets were definitely the best. And I was like, I really like fishing. You know, I don't fish that way very often. So I sort of ignored Baz's advice. That's the best way to put it. I thought, no, if this F1's a little carp, it's cooling down, I'm going to fish my own way. Just got it completely wrong. Eventually, I changed to hard pellets and caught a few. And it was a bit like, I should have been on it. Like, I think one biggest thing that I learned that day is confidence is everything in fishing. When you're confident fishing a certain way, you always revert to that because that's how you like fishing. But anyway, cocked that day right up. Driving home, I wasn't best pleased because it's, you know, if you go there and get it wrong, it's not a problem. But when someone's told you what to do and you don't listen, that's a problem. That's a big problem. So I was driving home, fuming with myself that I didn't listen to Bazza. So going to this one, knowing how good it was when we went there in the past, the last match, you know, the first match was mega. So I caught in the mud on micros and corn and then 4 meals and corn. That was unbelievable. Then the next time we went, we caught really well on hard pellets. And I thought, I know it's the week before Christmas, but I'm just going to take some with me. And as soon as I started catching these skimmers, I thought, no, I'm going to try it. So I got up, got some hard pellets out. And the difference was unbelievable. So it was really, really good to go there. I think the biggest thing is it teaches you, or what I felt I personally learned from that, and hopefully I'm passing it on to you, is we've all got a way that we like fishing. So for me, I love feeding. I want to loose feed. I think that's just how I've been brought up, being aggressive. You know, I fish with, what I'm going to say is very, very single-minded, winning, aggressive anglers. So I feel like when I was at my first, you know, when I was obsessed with fishing and started traveling around, like away from sort of your junior days. But when you're surrounded by anglers that are so much better, you're like a massive gap of how much better they are than you. The first one was Mark Goddard and Tommy Hillier. Definitely with Tommy, so single-minded, and Mark, so single-minded in their approach, and they're very positive in the way they fish. That sort of leeches onto you in they're winning anglers. So you sort of form your way of fishing by those and the way they fish. And I think it's the nature of the venues as well that I used to fish, and a lot of them being big carp lakes, that you tend to fish the same way on the best peg as the worst peg. So you're very, say, single-minded approach because you're fishing a lot of the time for a handful of bites that could, you know, you catch 20 carp at gold and catch 200 odd pound. Like, they're massive. So you have to be committed and patient with your approach and be very single-minded. So spending a lot of time with Mark and Tommy, that definitely made me more into that. And then when I started fishing with William a lot, that just enforced it even more, that very single track minded, this is how you need to fish, this is how you're going to win, but then become the best at that given technique. So prepare a lot, practice, and just focus on being the very, very best at, you know, what you believe you need to be able to do to be able to win. And then going on from William, when I started traveling, Des was a big one for me, to be honest, fishing and speaking to Des, because Des was different. And I feel like I'm a little bit like that regarding then traveling when I was going to Whiteacres, where you have to do a lot of different things because you're on a lot of different lakes. So that definitely helped me. And then later on after Des was probably the only person I can genuinely pick that just covers a little bit of everything just to make sure. And when you look at his record regarding like festival wins at Whiteacres, that's the reason why he's won so many, because he just never gets caught out. And then after that, fishing with Andy a lot. So then it was more the F1 fishing. So I feel like depending on who you fished with and who you're influenced by, that almost makes you the angler that you are. So you think a certain way and naturally you want to fish a certain way. So again, bringing it back to sort of myself a little bit, when I go and fish a certain way, I always feel like, and again, from what I've learned, biggest thing is if you can get the fish competing, more often than not, they're very, very easy to catch. They're not hard to catch. So loose feeding is normally the best way of doing that, because one, you're loose feeding and you've got the noise, obviously the attraction to attract fish into the peg. But the biggest thing as well is you're naturally, no matter how good you are with a catapult, you're spreading them fish out. So then you can just go in and clatter them. And so I always revert back to that, trying not necessarily so much single-minded. I probably set too much at times. We all know what I'm like with setting too much up. But I always want to fish like that. And then what happens is, because I've got a certain way that I personally like fishing, throwing bait in, trying to get the fish competing, there's certain baits that naturally gravitate, naturally work better for the style of fish that you're fishing for. So with it being F1s predominantly that I would say I fish for now rather than carp, natural baits tend to work best. So that's always what I feel like when I'm going somewhere and I know there's F1s in there. That's more what I'm going to say is my comfort zone. Whereas when I was fishing gold a lot all of the time and more carp fishing with like 8mm pellets, a bomb, waggler method, pole up and down, but all done with bigger baits, like really pellets and corn. I fished meat a little bit, but that was sort of, a very, very long time ago. That was before pellets ever come into it. So whenever I hear the word meat, it's a bit like, not really confident with that. It's not that you don't know what to do with it, but because you're not doing it all of the time, it's not a bait that you think, oh, carp, excuse me. If I hear the word carp, hard pellets, that's what that's sort of like my comfort zone of where I feel comfortable. I know really what I'm doing. Whereas when you look at Pete Upperton, his perfect example, I couldn't, to be honest, think of a better example. You hear the word carp and Pete's just like, yep. They're just, when meat's allowed, that's what I'm going to fish, because he's so confident in it. And I believe that that's the big thing of what I want to touch on regarding Barbie Banks is I feel, excuse me, we're all like this in a certain way, depending on the style of fishing you're doing regularly. You find a way that you like fishing. That's the way you gravitate towards. This is what I want to be doing because I'm confident in it. And when you go to the right venue that suits the way that you like fishing, you're going to do well. But it's when it doesn't suit your way. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned from going to Barbie Banks is, say I've only been twice, but that time, the week before Christmas, if I was going to anywhere that I normally go to, say Tunnel, Monk Hall, those type of venues, I've never even, maybe Monk Hall you could take some hard pellets. They're mint there in the summer. Don't go there enough in the winter time. But I'd never dream of taking formula hard pellets because I just don't feel like I'd get a bite on them. But when I was going there, I thought, I'm just going to chuck them in just in case. And what was nice about it, going away from that match, was, do you know what? I can do this. And all it is just to change your bait. Not necessarily a way that I'm not fishing technically any different. My rigs are the same. My pots are the same, really. It's just a different bait, but it's understanding that in your mind that it's just a different bait and I can actually do it. So hopefully, I got that across on that video, that I feel like we're all guilty of that we've got a way that we like fishing, that we want to do all of the time. And yeah, it's great when it's working, but then it feels harder than it actually is to just change your bait. Because I think sometimes, I don't know what you're like, but in my head, I probably make it worse than what it is. All it is just a different bait. And I think, I don't really want to do that because I ain't got a lot of confidence in it. But the only way you get confident is to actually use the bait. And I think once you've had a match or two, that's all you realise, actually, yeah, like in the past when I went to Willow Park a lot, and that was the first early time for me when I was fishing for F1s. Before, I'm going to say, it was before I knew Andy. I was fishing with Pem all of the time, so it was a long, long time ago. But we'd fish these evening matches on the small and the middle lake, and that's all we used to do, was fish formula hard pellet shallow. I want to say at that point, I would never have even fished maggot shallow for F1s, and I don't think, if my memory serves me correctly, I don't think I would have even ever fished caster shallow for them. So going there all of the time, that's all I used to fish, was 4mm pellets shallow for F1s. Whereas now, 4mm pellets feel like alien to me. Like, oh no, I don't want to fish that. No confidence, but say it's that confidence breeds success bit. But yeah, touching on your question, Steve, I know I probably dragged on a little bit too long, but definitely going to be going back to Barbie Banks and also some other different venues, because I feel like that's really helped me go into Barbie Banks sort of outside of my comfort zone. And I always feel like you need to learn how to win on a certain venue, baits, how they like feeding, the different baits at different times of the year, different techniques at different times of the year, and then you get to almost like every venue's got all, like even every lake, it feels like it's got its own unique personality that you sort of need to understand, so that when you're fishing, it's like, yeah, I've seen this before, this makes sense. I think as anglers, we describe it as, well, you know, when someone asks, why did you do that? And you go, I don't know. You do know, but it probably happened 14 months ago, but you're sat there thinking, this don't feel right. I need to do this because I know that this has worked in the past. So then you do it and it's like, yeah, this seems to make sense. But you need to get to that position almost where you get that feeling of that venue, and you're only ever going to get that by going to the venue regularly. So I feel like going to different venues for me is sort of forcing me to think more like this could potentially work, and then try and figure it out on the day, rather than going there, which is what happens when you're only going to, you know, a handful of venues. Is you go there, you know exactly what you're going to be doing pretty much before you've even got there. You know, nothing really surprises you anymore. So that's the one thing about going to different venues that really does sort of open your eyes up, and I think it's definitely going to make you a better angler. So probably a bit long-winded, but hopefully, Steve, that helped answer your question. So this one's from Matthew. Evening, Matthew. Hope you're keeping well. So this one's from Tim. All good looking from my sick bed. Oh no, Tim, that's not good. Well, we all wish you a speedy recovery and hope you get better soon. So this one's chatting to earlier, Jonathan. Just sorted the icebreaker for tomorrow and a load of big nose faces. Oh, I don't blame you. I mean, it is really, really tough to sort of motivate yourself at this time of the year. You're speaking to Baz, and we're desperate to try and get out. And if anyone's got any good ideas regarding venues where we can go and get some buys, definitely send it over to us, because we are really struggling at the moment. We're thinking, well, you know, could we go there and do that? And it's a bit like, yeah, but we might blank. That's the only downside of, say, doing like a working hour or a masterclass, is when you're the only person on the lake. More often than not, they're just going to be swimming away from you, and that's not going to make a good video, is it? But yeah, if you can send a few what's the right word, suggestions for live matches, that'd be mint. Somewhere where we can go and, say, get some bites and feed a little bit of bait, because that's what it makes you, you know, say. It's the thing is, though, is when you do get out, and if the weather's not absolutely hammering it down and a freezing 30-mile-an-hour wind or 20-mile-an-hour wind in your face, it's actually quite pleasant to be out. It's just if it didn't rain, for me, it wouldn't be a problem. Saying that, the days when it's like wet and windy are normally the best fishing days. I went to Tunnel on Saturday. I drew a mint peg, 31 on ounce. Basically everything, for those that, I'm sure most of you would know Tunnel, but basically they just live in that gap in front of 6. Obviously I'm on 31, 30's bang in the gap, and then you've got 29, but they live there. And just before the start, again with me hassle, so apologies, I haven't even spoke to Baz. Well, I spoke to him, but I didn't ask what footage we got, so I'm trying to link my phone to it, because I've got these DJI ones, the Mikey suggested to me, and he said, Paul, they're idiot proof, like even you'll be able to get on with them. All you got to do is link it to your phone, you can just stop it. And it was like, oh, that'd be mint. So I've got a new one, and this is how bad I am, right? So anyone that's good at technology will find this really amusing. Anyone that's bad at technology will look at it like me. Well, yeah, I didn't even think about that. So I'm trying to do it before the start of the match, and this team match. So I want to film for us. But obviously, I want to try my best to get the most amount of points for our team. I wouldn't want to go back and say, yeah, I probably should have done better because I was messing around with my cameras. I don't think Phil and Sam and Jay would like that. So I'm trying to get everything sorted, and it would not. Every time I'm pressing it, it's like can't connect to whatever it's saying to me, and it's like, so basically abandoned my camera, started it, and thought, well, I just have to get off my box and do it. But where it's all a bit of a rush, and I'm thinking, right, well, I'm just going to drag my plummet in before the start, see if I can find anything. So I'm like moving it around, and eventually, so it was about halfway down my 13 on my 14 metre section, I bumped into someone. It's like, oh, thank God, at least they're still there. Gone in and had a lovely start on bread, caught a couple, and then you can't get a bite. And you know deep down, because it's, well, I ain't got enough pole. So the most I've got with my short gear is like 17 metres plus my dolly bar. So probably, yeah, about 17.5 metres total, maybe 17 metres. But I know it, as soon as I push a little bit out, I'm probably going to get a bite, but I'm just moving them away from myself all of the time. And the conditions were beautiful, not a breath of wind, hardly any clouds in the sky. Lovely to be sat there, but literally the worst fishing conditions regarding fish feeding. And eventually I run out of pole, and it's like you can just watch them topping in the gap. And there's just, if you had a camera over there, I dread to think how big the ball of them are. It's just thousands probably. But yeah, it's sickening just to watch it. Well, I say it's sickening for me. At least I was fortunate enough to be on a ball where I could catch a few to be able to push them out of my peg. The poor lads opposite were just like, I just felt for them, because that's the only downside, say, with the fishing this time of the year is roll on warmer weather when we can feed. I think that's the best answer for that. So this one's from Mark. How are you getting on with the Shimano line? I've been using it for years. Brilliant stuff. So anyone that knows me will know that I wouldn't use anything if I didn't like it. You know, if I didn't think it was good, as like in the past, I've used tournament line, I've used supernatural line. I wouldn't use it if I didn't like it. And it's, where's me line? It's bloody brilliant. Like, absolutely love it. The big thing with me is I'm a massive fan of mono line. So I know I speak to some brilliant anglers. Obviously, Will, mad on fluorocarbon, absolutely loves it. Another really, really good friend of mine, he catches a boatload of fish, Darren Davis. He swears by it. But I've always used mono. And I think the biggest thing is the style of fishing that I do, I just love mono, because I'm fishing for F1's carp. I don't fish any lighter than 010. But I think if I was doing more feeder fishing, maybe some more silverfish fishing, then fluorocarbon could definitely come into it. I mean, I might be missing a trick not using it for like the fishing that I do, but how I've always looked at it is I genuinely believe I get more bites fishing 010 than I do 012. And how I see it, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but it can't be because they can see it. Can't be, because no matter what line you use, you've got a bent nail attached to it. Whatever hook you've got a bit of metal attached to it. So it can't be that they can physically see it, in my mind, because if they did, you'd never catch one. How I look at it is it's the suppleness. That's the only difference between, if I know I get more bites on 010 than 012, the only thing in my mind it can be is the suppleness. So how it falls. So that's why I only ever use mono, because it's more supple in the same diameter than fluorocarbon. But I feel like maybe with other styles of fishing, then using fluorocarbon could be brilliant. But yeah, I've changed over to it. Initially, when I first joined, I just used it for my rigs and just seeing how I'm getting on with it. And I love it as well, because what's really nice is your shots tend to slide nicely on it. So when I'm tying a rig, I've got some down here, and I've actually done some shot rigs earlier. So what I've got is a little pot of this elastic lubricant. This one's from Preston. I don't think it matters who it's from, but just some light lubricant. So when I'm tying a shot rig, I put my shots on, test it, and then I'd slide the shot up and then retie my loop. So slide it up the line, just basically discard the damaged bit, and just wipe a bit of that slip lubricant on it. And as soon as you get a bit in your shot, it just slides up your line so nicely. And when you hold the line, it's not like the friction burn. You don't get like pigtails with it. Just hold it and it's just dead straight. And you can feel it with your fingers, but if you feel it like in your lips, because I think they're like the most sensitive part of feeling any damage, you just slide it and there's no damage whatsoever on it. So initially I just started using it for my rigs. Really, really impressed with it. Obviously when you know, good fishing times, when I signed sort of July time, And then I've started using it for my hooks. It's just knowing the diameters. So what I use is, because they do it in different sizes, so they do it in loads of different sizes, to be honest. And again, with all my line that I've used in the past, there's always been 010, 012, 014, 016, 018, 020, 22, 24, 26. It's always gone up like that. I never really used N-gauge a lot. I didn't mind using 017 for my main line, but I could just never get it to tie right for me. But this is the same regarding, it comes in those split diameters. So like 011, 013, 015, 017. So on the side of the packet, so if I can show you there, so that one says like 011.4, but there on it, it's my light, so try and show you, so without shaking, but you can see it says 012. And that's been the thing of picking the ones that suit the diameter that you used to use, if that makes sense. So what I've done is 010, I use 010, then this one is 012. It says 012 on it, but it actually says like 013 at the bottom. But that's the one that I use for me, 012. And then 014, that's the one that I use. So I think that's basically how it's marked. But again, on the bottom, to be able to see 014. So it's just a case, because they do so many different tiny variations, I'm guessing. It's just a case of picking the ones that you like. But yeah, so I'm really, really impressed with it. I personally wouldn't use something if I didn't like it. So getting on really, really well with it. And say it's lovely when you're putting your shot on your rigs. It does slide really, really nicely as well. But yeah, really, really good. So this is Ryan, who gets me. Ryan, you're not allowed to get anyone else. These my little pace cages. So he stocked me up on some. So yeah, all good here, Ryan. I hope you and PJ are good. Say thank you ever so much for them. So our next one, this one's from Mark. Question for tomorrow: is there any progress with Fish Up Plan? So yeah, we'll definitely be touching on it. I can quickly touch on it now. So I spoke to John and Baz earlier. I feel the festivals, they should be released this week. So keep an eye out on the Fish Hub Facebook page for the festivals. And yes, we've been out and done some filming. So there's loads of stuff going on in the background. It's just getting it all ready for when we can launch. But the festivals, I'm 99.99999% sure that they will be out this week for you to be able to buy. So just for those that are interested, we've got 2 at Puddle Dock, we've got 2 at Monk Hall, and we've got 2 at Hayfield. So the Hayfield ones, one of them is a pairs, which I think I want to say is early August. And then, where's my calendar gone? I had it a minute ago. Oh, there it is. So I'm sure the boys won't mind me saying the dates. But Monk Hall, the first one is the 8th and 9th of July. I haven't got the Puddle Dock dates written in. And then, yeah, early August. So the 6th and 7th is the Hayfield pairs. So that'll be a mint event. And then the 27th and 28th of August will be a 2-day individual one. And then we've got one at Monk Hall, the 15th, 16th and 17th of September. So those are the 2 dates at Monk Hall, the 2 dates at Hayfield, and we've also got 2 at Puddle Dock. But yeah, that's what I was messaging earlier with Jonathan. Can't wait to know the 20 are that have been picked. We are getting there with it. I'm just going to turn my phone off when that gets released. But yes, we are getting there. So it's just quite a bit of work in the background. So this one's from Mark. You're the master of the videos, brother. I'm glad you're enjoying them, Mark. Really means a lot. So this one's from Pete. Hey up, youth. You're right, Pete. Hope you're keeping well. So he's put, get yourself to How End, 1K midweek Silverfish qualifier. Where's that How End? I'm going to write this one down. I've got pads everywhere. I'll write it on the back of this one. So I'll have a look at that, Pete. So How End. How and so yeah, anywhere, say where it's good fishing, and again where you'd like to see me fish. Don't be cruel to me and put me like proper outside of my comfort zone. Like give me a chance, but yeah, anywhere where you'd like to see us film, you know, do a live match, or even if there's a specific technique maybe that you'd like us that we haven't gone into detail about. Again, I only want to do what you want to watch. So whatever you want to see, if there's something on there and you think, do you know what, I'd really like that, send me a message. It's not that I might be able to do it like next week for you, but then I can start planning. So one of the ones that is from Mike, one of our lads, wants me to do some more stuff like fishing with worms. And when I look back in the past, I've done so much fishing with worms, and it's like, yeah, I haven't really, apart from I think we done a mini session at Ivy House where I was fishing with worms, more for silverfish. I haven't done anywhere near as much as I should have done. So again, like anything that you think, oh, I'd like to see that, I'd like to see that, send it over to me, can put it down and make sure that I'm planning it as to like, yeah, you know, because I forget, to be honest. You know what it's like, you're here, there and everywhere, and you forget what you have done and what you haven't done. But no, cheers for that, Pete. So I hope you're keeping well. So this one's from Grant. Hope you're well, bro. Come on, Team New Fish Elite, get it one. It's so tight at the moment, Grant. So I think Southwest have got 208 points. Us and Ridgemere have got 201. And I think Dynamite have got 194, 196. And I'm just going to say it, but if I could pick a team to win, and I shouldn't say this because you'd want your own team to win, but if I could pick a team to win, I'd want Ridgemere to win. That's who, in an ideal world, Phil's going to shoot me for this. Like, no, we want to win. I do definitely want to win, but genuinely, if I could pick someone to win, I'd want Ridgemere to win and us to finish second. I'd be absolutely, that for me would be the best result possible, because those boys, they put in so much time and effort, and you just notice with the results like Baz, Neil, Paul, they're so consistent there. It'd almost be a tragedy, to be honest, if they didn't win. I feel like you should get what you deserve. And for me, that's the team that deserves to win it. So, yeah, fingers crossed. It'd be bittersweet, to be honest. I'd love to win it, don't get me wrong, but I'd be made up if the Ridgemere boys won it. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I hope you're keeping well, Grant, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you at some point. So this one's from Mark. Griffo, have a word with young Bubby. Get on his Barbie mill pool lake for some filming. There's all sorts in there. You get those parts. You love it. Cheers, Mark. You're a star. So speak to Rich Bob. So Barbie mill pool. Barbie mill pool. Look at that, we've got 2 venues. But Mark, you're absolute legend. Thank you ever so much. And I hope you are keeping well. So this one's from Ryan. All good here, Paul. PJ says hello. All right, PJ. Hope you're loving your hat. So this one's from Ryan. Paul, how about doing a live match at Bradshaw's Fish Day yesterday? Brad is definitely. I've only been there once, you know. Have I been there once? We went and filmed. Was it for Commercial Masters? And it's absolutely stunning. It was just beautiful place just to be there. I didn't see the canal lakes. I'd be guessing, but it was one of the older lakes. It wasn't Lake 2. I think it might have been Lake 3 or 4. I'll be guessing. But yeah, it was absolutely stunning. Really, really nice. So that is a great shout. And especially now where I've moved. I know it's still like we're just outside of Hereford now. But I looked earlier, and Western now, that one would have been way too far from Reading for me in the past. But now Western's only an hour and a half away. So I am a little bit closer. So again, like having a few matches at Western, I know how Matt, Chris love it, Jonathan loves it. I know it's got a massive following, and just get loads of bites there. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to bang the table. But I'll have to have a look and see how far away it is. But yeah, Brady's is a good shout, definitely. So cheers for that one, right? So this one's from Matthew. Going on from talking about making shot rigs, if you had a set taper 6, 5, 4, etc. going down, at what depth would you change taper increments, or would you be, say, a 48 centimetre taper on all rigs? So I'll be honest, Matthew, the way I don't, in the past, so for like all me deep water rigs, so like me Gloucesters, all my shot is actually written down. So again, this on Match Focus, so you'll be able to find it, what they all take. So like 0.75, a gram, and a 1.25, because those are the main ones I use. I have a dropper at 6 inch, a dropper at 13 inch, and then my bulk at 22 inch. And then when I go deeper than that, I'll have a bulk at like 7 inch, bulk at 14 inch, a dropper at 7 inch, a dropper at 14 inch, and then my bulk at 2 4. But with like the tapered rig, so when I'm fishing with pellets and I'm using my dink, that's how I shot it. So I normally have a shot above a 4-inch hook length. That's how it normally starts, because I only use them rigs, to be honest, when I'm fishing with pellets, and I'm just going to lower my rigging. So if I was to fish with maggots, I like fishing with a bulk and a dropper personally. That's just, again, it's all personal preference of what you like. But I plumb my rig up and I just have it really, what I'm going to say is like the bottom third of the rig. So if it was 6 foot deep, I might have my top shot, but then saying that, if it's 6 foot, it might even be in the bottom quarter then. So it all depends on, say, how deep you're fishing. Really, I need to measure them, but I just do it where it looks in proportion to the depth, and also depends on the condition. So the windier it is, you might want to move it down a little bit, spread them out, not as far apart. But likewise on, say, Saturday's match, where not a breath of wind, then you could just move them up a little bit, because it all depends on keeping your rig stable. One thing I think, Matthew, is don't try and have this, it's got to be a certain way in my mind, that I've got to have one at 4 inch, one at 3.5 inches. Move them about during the match, and you'll get to know that, the harder it is, maybe you want to spread them out a little bit more, or you might want to bulk them down a little bit. I think it all depends on how deep you're fishing. But I would say, as a rough guide, I haven't even got a top kit with me so I can even look. Give me 1 second. Let me grab a top kit, because I think that might help me explain it a bit better. So, got a top kit. So if I was fishing, say, 3 foot deep, so let me do it the other way so you can actually, so the rine's upside down for you. So let's say I was fishing my dink in 3 foot, my 4-inch hook length. I'd probably have my first shot like 7 inch from the, no, so I'd have my first shot 4 inch, my next shot 7 inch, that mine take 5 number 9, so 1 2, probably have the next shot at 9 inch, and then 10 and 11 inch. That's probably roughly where I'd have it. So it's, yes, the bottom third, the bottom quarter is what I'm going to say, of the depth that you're fishing. But don't think that, well, I've set it like this because X, Y, and Z fish at 3 inch and 2 inch and 1 inch. Just try it and see how you get on with it. But what I would definitely say is, regarding when you're fishing, like if your float's drifting, then move your shot down a little bit. Likewise, if the fishing's hard, just string everything out a little bit more to give the fish, a bit more time to be able to see the bait. Likewise, you could start, and if you're missing an odd bite, then move the shot down as close to the hook as possible. Always, for me, I want to fish the crudest way I possibly can, the most shot near the hook, because it gets it down quick, gets on with the job, and it's just so much more positive. It's down, it's not going to move, it's not going to drift, and you can just get on with the job quicker. But if it's rock hard and you're flicking your rig in, it sinks like a stone, you're just not getting a bite, well then getting on with the job is not a thing. I need to get a bite first, so then I can maybe slide my bulk up a little bit further, depending on how deep I'm fishing, then slide my dropper up a little bit more, just so I can get a bit more of a slower fall. And then if I'm missing bites, then I can just move my shot a little bit closer. So that's what I would definitely say is just look at your rig, depending on the depth, and like the bottom third or bottom quarter is a brilliant starting point. But if you're not getting bites, string it out a little bit more so you just get a bit more of a nicer fall. But then likewise, if you started off like that, and it's hard, and then you catch one, and then you're fishing away, and it's like missed a bite, and then a kettle, nice, and then you go in, feed your bait, miss a bite, and then you catch one, and then you go out, you miss a bite, and then you catch one, or you miss a bite, and you feel like I'm not doing this correctly. Move your shot closer, be more positive with it. So that's what I would say regarding your rigs. The harder it is, spread them out a little bit more, as long as your float's not drifting. And the better it is, and I think this was a massive lesson for me. So if you watch day 3 of the May Festival, when we was on, 19 on extension, I was fishing short, and it was just over 3 foot there. And normally in that sort of depth, bottom third, I had my bulk at 12 inch, 11, 12 inch, and one dropper and a 4-inch hook length. And you think, well, that's crude as you can get, basically. When I slid my bulk down to like 9 inch from my hook, the difference was a joke. It was ridiculous, the difference it made, like that much of your bulk. It's only like 3 foot, so I suppose it is a bit of a proportion of the depth. It's a nothing thing, really. But the difference of when you sat there with that dead shore line and there's fish in your peg, just sliding that bulk down, the difference it made was unbelievable. It was night and day. So just be a bit more, give yourself a little bit more leeway, a bit more thinking when you're fishing, that how can I get more bites? But then likewise, when you are missing an odd one, you always want it in your mind of like, I just want the crudest rig possible to be able to get on with the job. I feel like sometimes we can be too faffy, rig thinking, oh yeah, but that looks nice and it's going to fall nice, but you don't get on with the job. Again, touching on another match that just comes to mind was when I drew peg 2 on extension. And I love a little 3B8 Winter Maggie. It's my favourite float of all time. I just love it. And I set up my bread rig, which was a 4x10 Winter Maggie. The difference that made, and I was only fishing, I want to say it was like 2.5 foot roughly. So it's sort of the perfect depth for a 3B8 Winter Maggie. Maybe best float for that depth would actually be a 4B8 Winter Maggie. But a 4x10 Winter Maggie just didn't look right, but it was unbelievable. Why? Because it was just dead crude. It just sat there. And it's on because it's straight. I've got enough shot down the line so that when it touches it, I can hook it and they're on. Whereas my 3B8 Winter Maggie, there's probably too much leeway in the rig. And again, touching on like overshot, that's why it's so good, because it's just so tight and direct. But that day, in my mind, I always love that 3B8 Winter Maggie, 4B8 Winter Maggie, because you get so many more bites. But that day, when I changed, because I knew the depth I was missing bites at, I got my bread rig, just shortened my line, set my float at the depth that I knew, give myself a little bit of leeway with a couple of number 8 back shots if I wanted to go a little bit deeper, like just over 3 foot, where I was on extension. Say it's like 5 and a bit foot, maybe short. So I know that I wasn't going to be fishing really any deeper than 3 foot. Went in, unbelievable difference it made. So definitely touching on that. We can be too faffy at times, worried about, oh yeah, but it's going to look nice and it's going to fall real slow. Again, touching on Barbie Banks, if you just said to me, 4x10 Winter Maggie, fishing across, and I caught so many fish on that rig since I've used it for that, what's the best depth for that rig? I would have said the perfect depth is like 2.5 foot, 32 inch, just over 2. That is the depth for it. And if you'd have asked me, what's the best way of catching using that rig, I would have said tapping a little bit of bait in, so a few maggots, or a few micros, or a few hard pellets, or not a lot of bait, and laying your rig in regularly. That is the best flow for that when there's no wind. I went there was no wind, I was tapping in a few pellets. It was rubbish. A 4x12 dink with my 5 number 9s tapered exactly how I've just said was by far the best rig. So again, that's another one just summing up. Sometimes we're our own worst nightmare because you're adamant in your mind it makes a big difference because it's made a big difference in the past. It's not always the best rig. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit, Matthew, regarding that one. So where did I get to? From Diddy, get the tunes on. Ian is my history brother. We absolutely love it. I hope you're keeping well, Ian. So this one's from Peter. Oh, and well done. I see you won at Barston, you little skimmer daddy. Ian's always been skimmer daddy, silverfish daddy. To be fair, he's been daddy whatever he puts his mind to. But yeah, lovely to see Ian catching a few. So this one's from Peter. Hi, mate. Off to Tunnel tomorrow on the over 50s. Get your bread out and get your little 10-gram plummet out, and hopefully you can feel a few. That's exactly what I would say, Peter. So best of luck. So this one's from Dids. Go to Hillview, Tewkesbury. Love it. Ian, you're a legend. Hillview. You are a star. Thank you ever so much. Sounds mega. That sounds right up my street. So a couple more, and then I can't believe how much of your time that I've taken up. But we'll be able to do it all again tomorrow with Andrew. So this one's from Robert, our Dutch brother. Good evening, Paul. I'm curious. Do you have any fishing-related goals or resolutions for this year? What's the most important thing you learned in 2025 that you want to apply in 2026? And if you could pick one match to win, which one would it be? So the first one, fishing-related goals, resolutions for this year, I would definitely say I need to fish a little bit more. Last year, I didn't fish enough. That's a big thing. The biggest goal that I've got is just to enjoy it. As long as I'm enjoying it, and I know when I want to go somewhere, I'm just like what I always do. Like when I'm catching, that's why I always say, "Car, wetting my knickers," because for me, that's what it's all about. I love it, and when I'm excited about it, is I can't sleep at night. So going to the right venue is a massive one, but just being happy and enjoying it. That's what my goals are every year, to be honest. Maybe not so much in the past. I was definitely more maybe focused on trying to win some stuff. And I think I've just come to the conclusion now that if I'd done more, it's like anything. And this one thing that my mate used to say to me all the time is, when you say yes to one thing, what are you saying no to? Because you're always saying no to something else. So if you want to win more, you need to enter more and you need to dedicate more time to it. And I've been very fortunate in the past that Joe's allowed me, if I said to Joe, and I know I'm so fortunate, if I said to her, right, I'm not going to be home this year, but I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do that, she backs me 1,000,000%. But what's not good is when you do too much, that I need that part of my life. I need to be around her. I just feel so much better, and ultimately you're married for that reason. So having a good work, home life, fishing balance is really important. So again, making sure you enjoy it is massive. What's the most important thing you learned in 2025 that you want to apply in 2026? What I was just talking about really is having that preconceived idea of how I want to go and fish, and almost when you tell yourself I'm not good at this and I'm not good at it, eventually you start to believe it, and then eventually you shy away from it. So again, talking about Barbie Banks regarding the hard pellets, it hasn't been something that I would say is a strength of mine. So naturally I shy away from it. So the biggest thing that I want to do this year is go there with a more open mind regarding the bait. How I want to fish, it can stay the way, like feeding, like loose feeding, again, being positive, being aggressive, trying to get the fish in and competing. But I think I need to be a little bit more open to the baits is what I would say. And then the next one is, if you could pick one match to win, which one would it be? Without doubt, Robert, the Pole Masters, without a shadow of a doubt. It's just the best standard. The downside of it now is the standard is so good, and to be honest, Andy's taught us all too much about F1 fishing. The draw just plays such a massive part, especially at that time of the year where, as you well know, like overshot into cover, it's really, really important. I'm not going to say it's come a bit one-dimensional, but that's how it feels. And you do have to draw very well. But I'd be lying if I said that there was any other match that I'd want to win. That's the one that I'd love to win. I'll be honest. So this one's from Mick. And then the next ones we will do tomorrow, Robert, because I can see you've got one there. So this one's from Mick. Hi, Paul. Never heard you talk about cane tip maggies in winter. Do you feel it's as sensitive as solid plastic, and when would you use them? So, hi, Mick. I don't know if they even sell a cane tip maggie. I think the one that Andy uses, I don't know what it's called, but it's definitely got a cane tip. Is it Silverfish Slim? Silverfish Slim. But there is definitely one that's got, so it's got a cane tip, a balsa body, and a carbon stem, and it's a slim sort of maggie shape. But again, if you wanted to know what that one was called, if you message Matt Godfrey, he'd be able to tell you, Robbie Taylor, Andy, like any of the Guru boys. Again, Mark Griffiths, who was just on here, Mark Griffiths Angling, if you message him, they'd be able to tell you exactly what the name of the float is. But I think I haven't used, my problem is with cane, I'll be honest, is I've never used them. So the original Chiantis, I never really used them apart from in a black tip because you just can't see them. So the reason I like solid plastic is because it's sensitive, but giving it a coat of paint, let me have a look. So giving them a coat of paint, I don't know if I've got any that aren't painted. I don't think I have, but I can show you like a red and a yellow one that have been painted. Like, can you see just how bright that these are? And these are the ones that, like, I mean, winter maggie, not a winter maggie, they're a 1.5mm solid bristled maggie, but you'll be able to see, like, I painted the bristles. And when you know, on a dark far bank, sorry, with low light, is the yellow one that I love. And you can just see everything. It's so easy to be able to see. So again, Mick, if you go on to our Match Focus Facebook page and scroll down, Baz done a little intro to our Barbie Banks video, and you'll be able to see, like, I tap some pellets in and lay me rig in, and that's a solid tip dink. But like that yellow bristle, when you're sat there looking and it's that dark background is what I'm trying to describe, you can just see it night and day. So that's a big thing, is yes, they're definitely more sensitive floats than others, but if you can't see it dotted down, it's pointless. So that's why I love using a solid plastic bristle, because you can just give them a paint. The paint I use is just this Sensors paint, but there's loads of companies that sell it, but that's the one that I like using, to be honest. That's the one that I've always used. But just giving it one coat of that paint, and this bit is really important. So just I haven't got another solid bristle float. My problem is I haven't been fishing a lot, so I've got too much. I've done all my prep. Just thinking I've got one that's not been painted, so I can show you. So again, on our Match Focus, you'll be able to see it. So here's one that's been painted and one that hasn't been painted. So you'll be able to see this one here, that one. See how it's like a light orange? It's a nice orange, but when I put the red one there that's had a coat, the difference when you're actually looking at it, when you're fishing, makes a massive difference. But I'm going to try and show you, like, this is what's so important when you come to paint it. So biggest thing is you need to shake your paint. Obviously, being a painter back in the day, I know that when you paint anything, it looks horrendous when it's wet, and you think, oh, that ain't going to dry very well. You come back the next day, or once it's dried, and the difference is like, I never thought in a million years that was going to cover. And it's exactly the same when you're painting your bristles of your float. You can't faff with it. So I'm going to show you what I mean here. So again, this one's a bit old. So if I down to the end of the table, let me move you a bit closer, make sure I don't unplug anything. So here, so I've got my paint. What's important is what I was saying, like, don't overthink it and don't faff with it. So this one, you'll be able to see it's a bit old, it's a bit claggy. So just wipe it off. So I've got not too much on the actual end of the brush. Now, my little way of doing it is always line the eye up that side, so I know where I've started. And what you want to do, I need to do it this way to be able to show you, is to start halfway down the bristle, 3/4 of the way down the bristle, and go up. Then I go down to the bottom, wipe it up, and then go to the bottom and wipe it up. That's it. So the first time I'm wiping it, and then now all I do is just twist it in my fingers. It doesn't take long to dry at all, but just twist it in my fingers. And once I've done it, I'm going to show you the difference between one that's dry and one that's not. Because you look at it, when you look at it close, you think, oh, that's not dried very well. You know, I can still see through it. And you don't, trust me, once it's dry, you'd be like, bloody hell, that's dried amazing. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see. It's my head in the way. It's not going to be the best to show you up real close. But once you've, you know, painted it, and then all I do is over here, I've got this down here actually. So again, you can even buy something, anything off Amazon, and you get a bit of like foam, and I just keep that. And once I've twisted it, you've only got to do it for 30 seconds maybe, plunk them in my foam and just put them off to one side and just let them dry. And that's why I love using solid bristles, because with that flow, what's nice is I've got the size of it regarding that I can see it. It's a 1.5mm bristle, but because it's solid and I can give it that coat of paint, when I'm fishing, it just glows up so much that I can dot it down. And because it's thick enough in the diameter that you can just dot it down to a pimple, and it's just lovely. You just get a different bite, you just get a melt away bite on a solid plastic or a cane. But say the biggest advantage for me personally of using a solid plastic bristle is the fact that I can paint it. And again, a float is only as good as whether you can see it or not. And if you can't see it and you're like, it's a waste of time because you're never going to be able to see a bite. So that's the biggest thing that I would say. Cane tips are brilliant when it's all white water and you can paint in black. Just sits there, absolutely perfect. You can see it. But it's when you want a red or a yellow one, I just don't find them to glow as well as a solid plastic bristle. So hopefully that's given you a couple of tips. And I know we've got a couple more questions, but we will do these. I'm going to save these ones for our live tomorrow with Andy. Say it's at 6:30. So any questions, send them over to me. And yeah, we'll have a chat with Andrew tomorrow. But hopefully, what day is it? Monday. I'm just looking. I lose track of all what's going on, to be honest. Hope you have a lovely rest of your Monday evening. Joe is going to be in a minute because we're going to treat ourselves. We're going to have an Indian tonight. And she's going to be like, we need to order our food. So yeah, hopefully, say massive well done to all of our prize winners. And hopefully I'll see a few of you on our live tomorrow. Cheers.